I guess I should do the starting soon, right? Isn't that what I'm supposed to do here? Well, I already started, so here I go.
Hit it, Craig. We got it.
All right, Alex. Maybe the most deflating game of all time. Reds trail the Brewers 10-8, bottom of the ninth. Top of the order for the Reds. They'll go up against the Brewers closer, Trevor Megill. Alex, I would ask you how you're doing, but I think I know that answer.
Yeah, 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago, great. 2.5 hours ago, fantastic. Today, now, not so much.
Oh, that's not what I wanted. Trying to get our names up on here, but I guess that doesn't want to happen. So anyway, Craig Sandlin joined by Alex Wallace. We'll take you through this one and get you going. Hopefully the Reds have a little bit of a comeback in them late. It's been quite a game, to say the least. We'll break it all down once this game goes final, but Brewers looking to match their franchise record, 13 straight wins.
Is that what they're up to now? 13.
They're at 12. Gosh. This would be 13, yeah.
And this is the second, 11, 12 game streak they've had. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't know how they're doing it. The Brewer magic must be stopped. I don't know how they manage it, but nonetheless, here we are, and it is what it is.
Really just hoping Friedel can get on here. I'm not sure where you're at. Oh, of course, he just struck out.
Friedel goes down swinging to start off the ninth.
I'm just glad we have the option to listen to the radio on these Apple Plus games, because the graphics have been a Brewer, love fest.
Well, I mean, when a team's won 12 straight and 28 of their last 32, I mean, the broadcast is naturally going to lean that way. So I get it.
No doubt.
The frustration, but
yeah, no doubt.
It is what it is. Spencer Steer steps in, swings and misses at the first pitch from Miguel. Second pitch in the dirt. Look, I'm following along. This is a long one. Obviously, was expecting to be on here a little bit earlier. I think the stream was actually scheduled for almost half an hour ago, but long game, 10-8. The 1-1 to Steer is swung on and fouled away. 1-2. And I see the comments blowing up our chat, and I cannot blame a single one of you. Blame a single one of you. So
just one of those nights. Just one of those nights.
Yep. Check swing makes it 2-2. Except here's the thing, Alex, and nope, we're not getting into it in the game watch, in the watch along.
We could steal this game. We could steal
It's
the
not
game.
over. It's over. Ooh,
it's over.
It's over. Steer strikes out looking.
Craig, they just breed bullpen arms. It drives me nuts.
Yeah. You chase Mizorowski early, you get to DL Hall, and you're thinking, man, this is going to work out well for us. And then
every other team, it would work out well.
Yep.
Though when you score 8 runs a game, you should win that game. But who am I kidding? Well,
that'll do it.
That's it.
Final score from Cincinnati. Brewers take game 1, 10-8. This is going to be quite a show, Alex. Quite a show indeed. We'll see y'all in 4 minutes.
Bench to bench. Change hit in the air to deep right field. That goes to Lindy. And the save. He's done. Get out of here, baseball. It's gone. Oh, my God. Can you believe it? Johnny Bench has tied it up. The Cincinnati Reds win the World Series in 4 straight. It was a sweep. In the dirt. It's a wild pitch. Here comes Bolster. The Reds win the pennant. Larkins won the game. That ball is fair. Cincinnati's ahead. 2 games to none. Welcome, Joe Randa to Cincinnati. Adam Dunn has done it again. Benzinger backing and calling. And the 1990 World Championship belongs to the Cincinnati Reds.
Marty, yes. This is Adam from Milwaukee. Hey, Adam, how you doing? I'm good. How are you? Good. Do you think Scott Chatterbox is a good player?
Dunn up there with the bases loaded, the outfield deep and around toward right, and the 1-0 on the way to the plate. Swung on, long drive, right field, and this one belongs to the Reds.
And a high drive. Hit back into deep right field. Junior has just knocked the door down to the 500 club. Benson's first home run is a walk-off winner. That ball had a family.
And De La Cruz is, oh my goodness, look at this kid run. My, oh my, that is a triple.
Matt McClain's first big league bomb. Spencer Steer's first big league hit is a home run to straightaway center field. Joey Votto's done it again.
The pitch.
Votto swings high in the air, right field. Yes! He pointed to the dugout to say, I told you.
That is Joey Votto's 315th career go-ahead ribby. Only Johnny Bench had more as a Red.
And I can't tell you how much it means to play in front of everyone here in Cincinnati as a Red. What a gift. What a tremendous gift. So thank you. Thank you.
I think I can speak for all of Reds country. Joey Votto, thank you.
High drive, left center field, racing back to the Miguel Andujar. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did! He did! Reds win! Line to right field. Genius, the first Red ever. With 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line. Does it have a chance? The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramon Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first, and Homer Bailey
Alex, chat, welcome in to the most deflating Chatterbox Reds of the season. I hope you're doing well, because I am sure not. Reds fall 10-8 to the Brewers. Brewers set or matched their franchise record 13 straight wins. This is a game that the Reds led 8-1 through 2 innings, Alex, and absolutely collapse, allow 9 unearned. They get, if my math is correct here, 23 straight at-bats with an out, Alex. 23 straight at-bats with an out after their unreal 7-run inning in the second. Just an absolute collapse, completely frustrating, completely demoralizing, completely just mind-blowing to be completely accurate. I mean, I mean, we talked about it before we went live. Like, what do we want to put on the rundown? There's only one word for this entire game, and that's collapse. I mean, they had the Brewers right where they wanted them, had an opportunity to get game 1 under their belt, get this series off on the right foot, good crowd on hand for a Friday night fireworks Friday, and absolutely collapse. Alex,
Yeah,
I would ask you how you're doing, but let's just ask what you're feeling right now.
you know what's interesting is you look at this game, and the Reds score 8 runs, great, but it comes down to defense, and we'll just jump right into it. I have 3 players tonight who just had a terrible defensive game. Everyone saw Gavin Lux, that second base there, the double play that didn't happen. Could have got out of the inning, would have been 8-6 Reds at that point. Honestly, I think Elly De La Cruz had a very poor game tonight defensively as well. Say what you want about him. You know, I might be the number 2 fan behind, you know, our main man, Nick Kirby, but honestly, he had a couple plays in the field that were terrible tonight. I'm not counting the one that was the little pop up and left. But he had the double play that he just flipped over to Lux. The timing was off there. That led to Vaughn's 3-run homer. And then, quite frankly, I'm about tired of Tyler Stevenson. I don't know what else you do, honestly, if you're the Reds. I think he's an average player at best, but he can't field. I think he did a little better last year, but this is 3 years in a row of him consistently playing, and he can't catch. I think the Reds need to really dig deep and see if there's someone else that can, you know, be the catcher of the future before they get to Duno, the big minor leaguer in Daytona. But honestly, I think Trevino should be the main catcher going forward the rest of the year, especially on games like this where they need defense back there and someone to actually catch a ball. Suter missed a strikeout, and the pass ball that led to the 10th run. I mean, it's getting out of control with Stevenson.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think we'd be having a much different conversation right now if Elly had either been able to come up with that bloop, which I don't think was his fault or Hayes' fault. I think it was just no man's land, and there wasn't much you could do about it. But that fielder's choice where he decided to flip the ball out of his glove softly to Gavin Lux, who had to come off the bag to field it and then couldn't turn the double play because of it. Those back-to-back plays completely changed this game. You went from what likely could have been an 8-1, maybe an 8-2 game at that point, to all of a sudden the Brewers put 5 on the board in the third. They put another 2 on the board in the fourth, and it's a completely different ball game. But if De La Cruz takes the extra millisecond to say, okay, flipping this ball out of my glove isn't the right play, I'm going to use my bare hand, take it out of my glove, give a nice, solid, firm shovel to Gavin Lux on the base, who can then turn that double play. They're out of the inning at that point because there was 1 out. They would have been out of the inning and done with, but instead the inning continues, and the next batter, Andrew Vaughn, hits a 3-run home run to left center, and the wheels just absolutely fall off. And it is, we talk about this defense and we talk about this Reds and what they want to be and what they want their identity to be. We saw in the second inning what they want to be offensively, and that's put together back-to-back-to-back singles and be able to score runs that way, which I disagree with wholeheartedly. But then defensively, they want to be one of the best defensive teams in the league. But instead of putting Matt McLain at second base, they make the decision to sit Matt McLain for the third straight day. Obviously, they had an off day yesterday, but third straight day, no Matt McLain. And instead, they go with Gavin Lux, who they've put out in left field for a majority of this season because they either wanted Matt McLain's defense on the field or they wanted Gavin Lux's bat in the lineup or whatever it may be. But his focus has been on the outfield almost this entire season. And so now all of a sudden, you bring him in, you put him at second base, a position that he hasn't really been spending a ton of time perfecting over the last several months. And that's exactly what you get. I realize it's a routine play on the ball that he booted, but in between the double play that he just couldn't turn because of Elly's misjudgment on the flip, between the booted ball that he had later in the game, I'm trying to remember exactly when that was.
That was a double play as well.
Yeah,
that led to a home run or a double.
Yeah, so two plays there. Again, Gavin Lux, I respect what he's done for this Reds team. I understand wanting to get him into the lineup, but unfortunately, putting him at second base right now with the amount of effort that he's put into learning that position or work on that position, I should say, doesn't make a lot of sense. They got to figure out what they're going to do there. Right now, they have a roster who we've talked about before is not necessarily made up in a way that makes sense to build a lineup night in and night out. And instead, they're left putting guys in positions that they're not comfortable with, guys in positions they haven't worked on, and it just results in this kind of an outing where you have defensive miscues and defensive errors that lead to the wheels falling off and losing 10-8.
Well, it reminds me of Trace the other night. And I think Trace was at the game tonight. I'm sure with his kids, I wish they would have had a better outing. But they talked about Lux, and what was that, Monday night against the Phillies. Lux basically, I believe, missed the ball. I missed that portion of the game, couldn't find the highlight, really didn't want to watch it. Missed the ball and left to lead to more runs. But wait, they've been doing defensive replacements. Now, I'm not asking for a defensive replacement in the third, fourth inning. This, I believe he was out. He was the big double or the big miscue for the double play was in the 6th, 7th inning. But is McLain do we know if he's hurt? Is he just benched? No one knows. Where's Espinal? Put him out at second. All these things. It's just do we really need Lux in the lineup that bad for his couple singles he's going to get? That's the part I'm confused with, especially on a night like tonight where it's just they had it. They had the win in their hands, and the defense just coughed it up. And now you know why, Craig, they went and got Ke'Bryan Hayes to play third, because they have to have one lockdown.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, Matt McLain had been kind of, I'll say, turning a stone a little bit. Obviously, his batting average and the peripherals weren't great, but he gave you solid defense, and he was starting to put the bat on the ball a little bit more, which he hadn't been doing for a while. So to then take him out for the last couple of days, we haven't seen Matt McLain now since the 12th. He's had 3 straight days off. Don't know what that answer is there. He was 1 for 4 in that game with a run and a double. Did strike out 3 times, but again, I just can't imagine that that's the reason why we're not seeing Matt McLain on a team that prioritizes defense so much. So, look, we're a little bit off track here. For those of you that didn't get to see the whole game, let's go ahead and knock out a box score recap and get after it, and then we'll break down this collapse a little bit more. But to your point, I looked it up real quick. That boot by Gavin Lux happened in the 4th inning. The next batter was Christian Yelich with his 2-run single to left center. They would have been not necessarily out of the inning, but it would have been a double play, and it likely would have got them out of the inning. But anyway, box score recap, as always, presented by Nicholas Kirby. Reds kicking off a vital series with the red-hot Milwaukee Brewers. Brewers came into this 3-game set having won 12 straight and 28 of their last 32. They turned to rookie sensation Jacob Mizorowski for an abbreviated start after being activated off the IL earlier in the day. Reds countered with Nick Martinez coming off his 7-inning gem where he allowed just 1 run on 4 hits to the Pirates. Reds got on the board first when Spencer Steer singled, then strung together 3 straight singles from Miguel Andujar, Gavin Lux, and Austin Hayes, but were only able to get 1 run in the inning as Miguel Andujar was gunned out at the plate for the 3rd out of the inning by newly called up Brewer center fielder Stuart Baroa. Christian Yelich wasted no time getting the run back in the top of the 2nd with a leadoff home run to left field. It was 1-1. Then, quite frankly, all hell broke loose. After Mizorowski struck out Noelvi Marte to start the bottom of the 2nd, he lost complete control of all of his pitches except for the fastball. He hit Tyler Stevenson, walked Ke'Bryan Hayes and TJ Friedl back-to-back to load the bases. Then Spencer Steer drew a 4th straight free base, walking on a 3-2 fastball to score Stevenson and put the Reds back on top 2-1. Mizorowski's day was done, leaving with 1 out and bases loaded in the bottom of the 2nd after giving up several hits. Didn't give up any hits. Brewers turned to lefty DL Hall, who proceeded to give up an opposite field 2-run double to Elly De La Cruz, RBI single to Andujar, RBI single to Lux, RBI single to Hayes, RBI single to Marte, before finally getting back-to-back fielders' choices from Stevenson and Ke'Bryan Hayes to get out of the inning. All told, in the 2nd inning, the Reds sent 12 batters to the plate, got 4 free passes, 5 hits, scored 7 runs, and made it 8-1, and we were all cheering. But after a prolonged rest, Martinez gave up back-to-back singles to Brandon Lockridge and Sal Frelick to start the 3rd. After 2 outs, Martinez got Christian Yelich to bloop one to left field, but it was just out of reach of Ke'Bryan Hayes and Elly De La Cruz and fell in for a double instead of the 3rd out. Andrew Vaughn made the Reds pay, heading a no-doubt home run to left center to make it 8-5 Reds. Caleb Durbin then singled and advanced to 2nd on an error by Austin Hayes and scored on a double by Bryce Terang, and Nick Martinez's day was done. Ended up going 2 2/3 innings, 9 hits, 6 runs, 5 of them earned, only 1 strikeout. Reds turned to Brent Suter, who was able to strike out Stuart Baroa to end the inning. Brewers got 2 1-out singles in the 4th before an error on Gavin Lux loaded the bases. A 2-run single from Christian Yelich tied the game at 8 apiece. Yelich gave the Brewers the lead with a solo home run in the 6th inning off Scott Barlow. Brewers get another run in the 7th off Sam Maul when Brandon Lockridge doubles to right center and advances to 3rd on an error by TJ Friedl. He'd then score on a Stevenson passed ball. Reds' last 23 at-bats result in outs. They fall 10-8 on the game and 64-59 on the season. And Alex, I'm not about to give a deep drive of the game to, I guess, Elly De La Cruz for his 277-foot double. So instead, we'll give it to Reese Hines. We'll go down to AAA
There
Louisville. 104.5 miles per hour, 394 feet. That was in the top of the 5th and made the score 3-0 Louisville. Win probability for Louisville at that point, 83.5%. As you'll find out later on in the show, that would end up being 100%. As always, we want to take a moment to thank DSC. DSC is a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil, collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities for information. Thanks, as always, to our friends at DSC. Alex, we've got some super chats that we need to get to before we get into this. I have an assumption that these super chats are going to ultimately lead us into the conversation, but let's get into it. Aquila the Great. These at-bats aren't competitive. Their defense can't field a ground ball. Brewers snap this team's back in half once again. Call him daddy.
Yeah, I saw a Pedro Martinez meme floating around. Shout out Pedro and the Yankees.
Yeah. I'm a Lux fan, but not at defense. And Ellie's 45 errors, 2 years, hates only has 32 in his whole career. No more short. Thanks, OJ's a Bronco. 3 done J. Oof, leaving GAP BP. I can only imagine how that is. Heard the players were wanting a sellout tonight. Maybe when they stop kids show down their leg in big games, more people will come out. Good crowd on hand for a Friday night, Fireworks Friday, but definitely not a sellout. let's see. Did you see what they announced for an attendance?
It was just over about 25,000.
Just over 25,000 is not enough. 25,470 for a Friday against your division rivals who had won 12 straight. Not happy with that. I had
was a little
put it out
surprised
there.
by
I
that.
wanted 100K.
I was
too.
surprised by that.
Yeah, very
But
surprised.
you know what?
Secondary market didn't
any
show
deals.
that there were a ton of tickets available, so I don't know. What'd you say?
They didn't give any deals this weekend like they normally do for big games. Not saying that's the reason, but those tend to do better when they, do a little deal for the weekend. But look, we got 2 more super chats, Craig, before we continue the conversation.
Yeah, putrid talent. I'm so sick of being fanned out in our own ballpark. 100%. Brewers showed out. Saw a video from Trace. Brewers fans starting the wave in our own stadium. Not ideal. And then Justin Edgel. Alex, F haircut, Reds below.
Yeah, I think that was probably an F- haircut. And what I'll say to Justin is most people who talk about my hair or, similar to some, big ball players or what have you, Justin's probably bald. So I'm not too worried about, Justin's opinion when, he can't grow it. I'm sure he's a little upset. So we'll talk about the Reds.
All right. Look, I don't know exactly where to start here, Alex. I think we've talked a lot about it in the intro, but ultimately an absolute collapse. This at the end of the day, Nick Martinez unable to get out of the third inning. How much of that was because of the errors or the defensive miscues? I guess my question to you is, obviously you don't want to see the home runs. He gives up the solo home run to Christian Yelich in the second. Then he gives up the 3-run home run to Andrew Vaughn in the third. But like in reality, the Yelich one was a solo shot. Andrew Vaughn, if it did happen, probably should have happened in the fourth inning and then may have been a solo shot and not as much of a backbreaker. Like, how much of this do you put on Nick Martinez? Obviously, some of the blame has to go there, but how much of it do you put on Nick Martinez?
I don't think too much. I mean, you look at it just in a vacuum. When I was taking some notes early in the game, and then I got frustrated, so I stopped. That the solo shot was no big deal to me. I knew the Reds weren't going to win this game 1-0, or even 8-0. So I knew the Brewers were going to score some runs. I think where it does get I think really it's strictly on the defense, and his pitch count did get a little high. I was tracking that to the first few innings. I think he got up to like 50 within the first 3 innings or so, or first couple innings. I don't know if it was the third inning, but it was like, okay, he may not make it out of the 5th. So that's where I don't see it as much as his fault. And then when he got in trouble, and as we all know, Tito pulled him quicker than I think a couple of us probably expected.
Well, I think it was one of those things where, again, the pitch count is getting up. I think he ended up at 63 pitches through 2 2/3. So, he probably could have gone longer, but at that point he had given up 6 hard hit balls already, including the 2 home runs. At that point he had given up 4 straight hits in the inning. I understand Terry wanting to try and stop the bleeding at that point, I think really is what it comes down to it. Would Nick Martinez have gotten Stuart Baroa to strike out just like Brent Suter did? Maybe. Quite frankly, Baroa didn't look great today, his first game as a Brewer, after getting called up earlier today. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, I mean, Nick Martinez, quite frankly, should have been out of that third inning with very limited damage, and it should have still been an 8-1 or 8-2 ball game. And then you can continue to afford to let Nick Martinez give up some runs, give up some hard hit balls, but let him stay in the game because you have that lead. But once they start to claw back and once that defense allows those runs to score, and now at that point, you're talking about an 8-4, 8-5, 8-6 ball game, that's a much different scenario as a manager than if you had kept it 8-2, right? So Nick Martinez was put in a tough spot. Yes, he absolutely gave up hard hit balls, 6 of them in 2 2/3. But the truth of the matter is that he should have been out of that inning. He should have been able to move on. And instead, the Reds had to burn this bullpen. And for me, that's part of the frustration that I think we have to talk about at some point during this show as well, is that when you're talking about pulling a guy in the third inning, with the way that this bullpen is made up, Brent Suter is your only option at that point. Like, Brent Suter is your long reliever, I guess. So who else are you going to go to? And quite frankly, as much as I love Brent Suter as a human, like, Brent Suter is not a great pitcher, and he is prone to give up runs, which again doesn't matter in some scenarios, but tonight absolutely mattered. And so for him to come in, he gives up 2 runs in the 4th. Then you have to go to Scott Barlow. He gives up the home run in the 6th. Scott Barlow has struggled of late. Then you turn to Sam Moll. And again, I don't think that this run scores if the defense had stepped up, but Sam Moll gives up the double that then turns into a TJ Friedel error that allows him to advance to third. And then the pass ball allows him to score, that him being Lockridge. So I don't think I can put that on Moll too much. Luis May looked good. He gave up the double, and then you have to turn to Joe LaSorsa. Like, at the end of the day, I don't know. It just, taking a guy out in the third inning is much different than allowing him to go 5 or 6. And it all came down to the defense. And I see Trace in the chat saying he's making $21 million. He got hit hard. A tough flare for Elly and Martinez is off the hook. I don't even care about the flare.
I don't care about the flare.
The flare is not the issue for me. The issue is that we should have had a double play the batter before that with William Contreras, who Elly decides to try and flip the ball with his glove instead of taking the ball out with his bare hand and giving a nice, solid, firm shovel toss to Lux to be able to make the double play. But instead, he goes with the glove shovel. He pulls Lux off the bag. Lux then has to go back to get the force out at second. And by the time he makes the turn, which I'll give credit to Gavin Lux, he did as much as he could in that situation. But Elly put him in a terrible position. That double play has to be a double play there, Trace. It has to be.
100%, Craig. And the flare was actually off Hayes' glove. They showed the replay on Apple TV. It fell off Hayes' glove. It wasn't on Elly at all. And I don't want this to be the trash on Elly show. But I did see something on another podcast. It was actually Gary Sheffield, of all people. And he said early in his career, Jim Leyland said and challenged him every series to match their best player, the opposition's best player. And he said every series he went into, he tried and many. Of course, he said he matched the best player, even Barry Bonds. I just don't think Elly's at that level yet. And whether it's tonight in his defense, but this is the Christian Yelich show as much as we want to bag on the defense tonight.
Yeah, well, Christian Yelich absolutely destroys the Reds. I think he's up to 28 career home runs now. He came into the game with a .902 slugging percentage against the Reds. He absolutely destroys the Reds, always has. And which obviously begs the question of why do you continue to challenge him? I mean, the home run was right down the middle. I mean, I don't necessarily understand that in all the situations, right? Like, there are certain situations where, sure, go after him, like in the second where he gave that leadoff home run. But there are also points in the game where you got to be smart. And a dude that absolutely dominates you and has for his entire career, to try and attack him and give him opportunities to continue to demolish you, unnecessary. So, I don't know. We're not yet, Alex.
Oh, sorry, Craig. I was trying to help you out.
There's no video. Once I see video, I'll bring him in. But maybe there we go. Maybe he does have video, and I just don't. He's just dark. It's just dark. All right, Trace, we're gonna go at it here because I completely disagree with you that there wasn't an issue there with Martinez on that double play that Elly should have absolutely turned in the third.
Can you hear me? Let's start there.
We got you.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
All right. Here's the thing. If you have an 8-1 lead, for all intents and purposes, if you have a guy that's making $21 million in a small market, you're not sitting here relying on this double play or else he's not going to be able to give up We have an 8-1 lead, guys. I mean, he's giving piss missiles up down the lines. That ball that was hit the left center field almost killed Mr. Red in the bullpen. Okay? Let's not sit here and just put this all on the defense. The reality is you got a guy that you're paying in a small market $21 million who are trying to fit in some kind of role half the time anyways, if we're being honest. Half the time we're trying to say, well, he's going to be a good bullpen guy. Well, half the time it's like, well, he's a solid starter. He's a good floating guy. Is that really what we're going to spend $21 million on in a franchise like the Cincinnati Reds? Probably not. But I've been nice all year. He's been serviceable. But you have an 8-1 lead against a team that you've had issues with forever. You have to put your foot down and get guys out. And yes, I guess if you want to sit here and say they should have 100% during that double play, he caught the ball up the middle. I mean, yeah, I guess if he hits a backhand flip perfectly to Lux and Lux turns it perfectly to first base, you get the double play. That's if all of those things go right. How about we just don't give up piss missiles down the line and we don't give up bombs to the left center field and Yelich doesn't hit 2 home runs, a double and a single? I mean, the truth is that the Milwaukee Brewers looked like they were taking batting practice all night long. That's the problem. And yes, I know Gavin Lux was terrible at second base. He was. The one that he did not make the double play on that was right at him was atrocious. So I'm not trying to say that defense doesn't matter. Of course it does. But it's just like you have an 8-1 lead, guys, and you literally give it all right back within the blink of an eye. And oh, by the way, they got it a lot. You know what they got a lot back in? Because they hit the ball over the fence. No one wants to bring that up. I know that, yeah, they got a couple dink and dunk hits or whatever. But the truth is they hit the ball over the fence. Over the fence. That's what they did. And we did not do that. So I'm glad we scored 8 runs. That was nice. But if we're going to be truthful on this show, which I think that's part of why people like this show, we got lucky to score 8 runs. We hit literally, we hit flare after flare after flare, joke of a hit after joke of a hit after joke of a hit. Their pitcher got rattled, started throwing balls everywhere. And that's why we scored 8 runs. And we weren't able to take advantage of it. You guys are doing a great job. I'm not going to sit here and say that you're not making some valid points, because you are. But we can't let Martinez off the hook here. Like, completely. We can't just be like, well, we could have made some plays behind him. No, I'm sorry, man. You're making that much money, and I know that's not fair totally all the time to judge people on how much money they're making. But let's face the facts. Like, if that was Hunter Green out there, if that was Nick Lodolo out there, if that was Andrew Abbott out there, and I would even go so far to say if that was Chase Burns out there, this town would be pissed off because they weren't good enough to close the door down when you had a 7-run lead. Defense be damned. How about you get somebody to swing and miss, Craig? My God. I mean, you couldn't get anybody to swing and miss. Nobody struck out. You want to talk about free pizza? It would have taken Nick Martinez 2 weeks to get free pizza.
I mean, but to your point, right? The Reds get flare after flare after flare. In the second inning, They got a single from Gavin Lux at 78.8, Austin Hayes 52.8, Noelvi Marte 55.8. Tyler Stevenson got out at 93, and then Key Brian Hayes got out at 73. But look at the very next inning, Trace. Brandon Lockridge single 76.6, Sal Frelick single 84.4, Joey Ortiz 57.7, William Contreras 69.9, Christian Yelich's double 62.5. It's not like the Brewers came out and were absolutely hitting piss missiles against Martinez at that point. You know when they started hitting piss missiles? After all that happened, because then you turn around and you get the Andrew Vaughn home run at 102.3. You get the Caleb Durbin single at 100.9. You get the Bryce Terang double at 105.3. That's when everything hit the fan. Everything was, I mean, I don't want to say it was fine, but at the end of the day, if you're going to sit here and talk about the Reds getting lucky in the second inning, well, guess what? The Brewers got lucky too in the third inning. So we can't have it both ways. Either the Reds can get lucky and the Brewers can't, or at the end of the day, they just have to make plays. And if the Brewers are going to come out and they're going to give you opportunities, this is too good of a ball club for you to mess up against. And we talk about why the Brewers are the Brewers. It's because they make those plays. It's because they run the bases aggressively. It's because they hit for power. They do all of these things that the Reds consistently can't do. And that's why the Reds are in the position they are in and why the Brewers are in the position they are in. And I don't think that'll change anytime soon. But I get your point. I understand Nick Martinez has to be better 100%. But to say that the Reds were fluky in getting their 8, which they were, you have to also turn around and say, okay, great. The Brewers were fluky in getting their 5 in the 3rd as well.
That's fair. I'm not going to argue that point. I would say that one team got the other team to swing and miss a little bit more. That's some of it. And then the other, as you said, the Brewers the Brewers got some big hits. Okay, they did. They hit the ball over the fence when it mattered a lot. And then when they hit the ball over the fence for some dumb reason, I can't figure it out. I'm still scratching my head trying to figure it out as I drive home here, is the rally never stopped. I was thinking when the ball went over the field in the left center field wall, then you know what? We had a 2-run lead. We're still good. No problem. Bases are clear. Rally's over. But no, that wasn't the case. Ball kept getting ripped down the line. And they kept scoring. So I get it. I mean, listen, we got a little bit lucky. They got a little bit lucky. They made some plays on defense. But at the end of it all, I guess I just want – and maybe it's not fair to judge Nick Martinez by how much money he makes, but I just want a guy that's probably at the top of the payroll for us to just get more swing and miss. You know, when you need an out, you dig deep and you get the out yourself. You don't rely on everybody else to get the out for you. And he wasn't capable of doing that tonight. And I don't know exactly why. Stevenson, not his best day either. I'm still holding out hope for him. I get that we think that there's a ceiling here that we've untapped. And again, I'm not going to go off the rails. People are going to get mad at me saying that he should have caught the 1 ball. I don't know if he should have caught it or not. Okay, but I do know this: like we're still back on the knee again with a big run at third base, and I guess that's just the way catching is anymore. So I guess it's shut up, old man type stuff. But I don't know. It would have been nice if he caught that ball and kept some of the momentum and you know, kept it a 1-run game, because I as you guys know, 1-run game going to the 9th inning versus a 2-run lead is, I think, pretty significant. So the Reds they didn't play well enough to win for obvious reasons, but the Mets suck. So there's that. I'll let you guys get back to your show. Your sentiments are well received. I'm getting upset because I don't think you let a guy that's that important from a payroll perspective on this team get away with having an 8-1 lead, regardless of what happens. I don't give a damn if it's luck or not luck.
Yeah, at the end of the day, he has to be better. He has to be able to get out of that situation without getting pulled. He's got to find a way to get out of it and save this bullpen for a weekend that we all know is going to be a grind. So 100% he's got to be better. Yep.
Quick question that you guys were watching on TV, which I think is better than being at the game. The flare that Elly wasn't able to come up with, did that look like he 100% should have caught it? And it looked like at the stadium that Hillman, Ke'Bryan Hayes kind of had like a weird. I think Elly would have caught it if he didn't think Ke'Bryan was going to get in the way.
It hit Ke'Bryan's glove.
Okay.
And it was an awkward, like he had to kind of jump over Elly. They didn't touch, but it went off Ke'Bryan's glove and then it hit Ellie's leg.
All right.
It was.
I don't think there's any world where that should be an expected out. Like at the end of the day, I think Hayes took a bad route to that ball. You could kind of see him take a little bit of an arc towards shortstop and then back out. But I don't think there's any world where that can be blamed on the defense. I mean, yes, these are two guys who are still learning how to play next to each other. But at the end of the day, Elly was going full bore and dove for that ball and didn't get there. It bounced off Hayes' glove, who was right there. Look, if one of them called it and the other one, kind of fell off, maybe one of them comes up with it, but I don't think there was any world where anybody should expect that ball to be an out. I think it's just one of those unfortunate situations where it came the at bat after Elly's failed double play that I thought should have been an easy double play that you said was still a decent play, but I still think that it was a decision making that led to that, because I've talked about this before, Trace. I think that Elly De La Cruz plays defense like he's on a little league team where he knows he's the best player in the entire league and it's not even close. And he tries to make these plays more difficult than they need to be. Either he's trying to throw the ball a million miles an hour to first base and he overthrows it. He's trying to make these flashy little flips to second base. If the dude would just slow down, fundamentally sound baseball, he'd be the best defender in baseball, I think. But instead, he tries to show off and become the best player in baseball by doing these flashy things. The flashy things will happen naturally. You don't have to force that, but he tries to force it He did it again in that scenario. In my mind, that would have been a ball that he could have easily taken out of his glove, shoveled with a nice firm shovel, got the double play, and been out of it. Instead, he flips it with the glove, and we're in the situation we're in.
All right, two things, and I'm going to go. One, I hear you on Elly. I don't know if it was just trying to be flashy or if he just thought that was the best way to try to get it to him as fast as possible. It's hard for me to say that he should have had that double play. I think Elly also made a really good play earlier in the game on the double play ball that people aren't going to give him credit for because it looked routine, but it wasn't routine in my opinion because it was like a short hop. He came and got it. He flipped it over to Lux. They got a double play. That was really, really early in the game. That was a really good play by Elly that I think will be overlooked a little bit. Secondly,
I made a note of that one too, Steer, because not only was the Elly play good, but Steer came off the bag and had to make that tag because of the throw by Lux. Yeah,
Lux is trash at second base. I mean, like I'm not going to kill Lux because he had some big hits, and I get what the Reds are trying to do, and we all know defensively Lux is not. He's not that guy. The first ground ball Lux got, I don't know if he's nervous. I don't know what it was, but that's the most routine ground ball you could probably make in the entire world. And people are going to laugh when I say this. God's honest truth, I think I could have gone out there and played defensively better than Lux did tonight. And right now, and I haven't played defense in 10 years. And I'm not trying to be mean to Lux, but that's the truth. Secondly, the biggest play of the game that no one's going to be able to convince me off of is the ground ball directly to Lux that he gets. They get the double play. Yelich never comes up. You get out of the inning. You feel like you've survived. You got out of the momentum. It just changes the whole complexion of the game. You boot the ball. Yelich comes up. He squares. He flares one or lines one down the left field line, and then boom. Next thing you know, the Brewers are the Brewers, and it's a shame because they had just an unbelievable opportunity tonight to really not even just step on the Brewers' throat because let's face it, they're going to win 100 and whatever games. But just more or less like to start to believe that you belong in this playoff hunt. The Mets, thankfully, are keeping us a bay here because if they haven't been atrocious, this thing would have been long gone a while ago. So you guys keep doing a great show. I'm gonna keep watching, but hopefully it made some people laugh and I don't know. It sucks. I mean, there's really no other way to say it, and there's a million different excuses we can make. 8, 9, 1 were they were all 0 for. It was 0 for whatever, 12, 13, 14. You got to have some consistency at some point between your leadoff hitter and TJ Friedel's had a relatively good year, but I don't know. My point is at some point we're going to need him to play well as well. So, all right, I'll let you guys go. Good show.
All right, Trace, appreciate you. Talk to us about the crowd. Talk to us about the crowd real quick. 25,000 people in attendance. I was disappointed.
I'm disappointed. I'll be honest with you. I'm disappointed. I'm not trying to kill everybody. I know kids are going back to school. I get all that. I also understand it was like literally 110 degrees. It felt like in the stands. I get it, but I just got to tell you, like, I'm going to say something that's going to hurt some people's feelings. Like, if we're a baseball town, if that's what we say we are, if we want to say we want to see a winner and we want all these things, and trust me, I get it. We've been bad for 30 years or whatever, right? Like, we can make all the excuses we want. That can't happen tonight. You can't have a crowd that disengaged, whatever term you want to use, in a situation where you have a big series. That was a bad crowd, a really bad crowd. The Milwaukee Brewers are not a traveling fan base. The fact that the Milwaukee Brewers fans got off like 3 or 4 "Let's go Brewer" chants before they got kind of booed out for a second is sad. I'll leave it at that. I'm just sad. I'm a little disappointed. That's all. And I get it. I'm not trying to tell people how to spend their money or how to fan or nothing like that. Don't come at me like that. It's just I don't know. If we're a baseball town, man, it's hopefully the next month and a half we can kind of show that, because tonight I don't know if we did.
Yep. All right, Trace, appreciate you. We'll see you on Sunday night live on Chatterbox Sports.
That's right.
Thanks, bud. All right, Alex. Look, I think he brings up a good point, and that play in the 4th inning by Gavin Lux that he booted really did change the tides. You're talking about an 8-6 lead at that point. Gavin Lux boots the ball on what could have been an inning-ending double play. Instead, it brings Christian Yelich to the plate. He hits that single, 2-run single to left center, and ties it in completely. Again, just the shift continued. To his point, 8, 9, and 1 tonight were 0 for 10. Friedel 0 for 4, Stevenson 0 for 3 with a hit by pitch, Hayes 0 for 3 with a walk. But, you talk about a team who had 9 hits tonight. Your number one leadoff hitter was 0 for 4. Spencer Steer was 1 for 4 with a walk. Elly was 1 for 5. 4, 5, and 6 really did a majority of your damage. Andujar was 2 for 4 with an RBI. Lux was 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs, and Hayes was 2 for 4 with an RBI. I mean, Noelvi Marte added in 1 for 4 with an RBI, and just, I don't know, just you would have liked to see more from Friedel and Steer, but to that point, I think ultimately that error in the fourth really kind of deflated everybody. And you look at what happened in the second inning, and then you look at what the Brewers were able to do in the third, and what that did to the morale of this Reds team. Because once those Brewers scored the 5 runs in the third after those 2, call them defensive miscues, call them whatever you want to call them, the Reds didn't get a single base runner the rest of the night.
Yeah, a couple of points here. Elly was the only batter with an extra base hit. His double there in the second inning. So great. Lux has been, a single merchant. And Duhar's been great since he's came over from the Athletics, but a couple singles tonight. Fantastic, right? We need to get these guys on base. That's how they scored. Another thing Trace mentioned is the strikeout. And if you look further down the innings, as they couldn't get anyone on base, the Brewers bullpen just owned the Reds and probably could have got free pizza for everybody in the stands. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it was strikeout, couple strikeouts an inning. And these guys they just could not build anything because the Brewers bullpen is just built to strike people out, unlike the Reds bullpen. It was just, what a frustrating 5 innings of a game. I mean, it was just terrible.
Yeah, Reds struck out 13 times on the night. Certainly not ideal by any means. Look, we want to remind you, as always, that you can call or text 988 anytime, day or night. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is a place to get support for anything related to mental health, whether it's an immediate crisis, simply wanting to find out how to connect with care, or anything in between. It's a 100% confidential, secure, and anonymous way to reach out for help when you don't know where else to turn. To connect, call or text 988 or visit mantherapy.org to get help. It's okay not to be okay. And the Disc Golf Pro Tour returns to Greater Cincinnati August 22nd through the 24th for the 9th annual LWS Open at Idlewild, presented by the Natty Disc Golf. Join thousands of spectators throughout the weekend watching 150 of the top disc golfers in the world, including the number 1 player in the world, Gannon Buhr, 6-time world champion Paul Macbeth, and 5-time world champion Paige Pierce take on one of the hardest courses on the tour, Idlewild, located in Burlington, Kentucky. Get up close and personal with the players as they navigate the woods of Idlewild. Grab some food at one of the food trucks, a beer from Rheingeist, and stop by one of the many vendors that will be on site. Get your spectator tickets today, or more information at lwsopen.com or dgpt.com. Alex, we got a lot of super chats we got to get to. I appreciate everybody's support and everybody tuning in. Look, we've got over 500 people watching in the chat. We appreciate you tuning in on what we know is a difficult night. But let's get to these super chats real quick. William Wright, 1749. Reds' bad defense killed them so much versus the Brewers. Absolutely true. We talked about that some. I'm sure we'll talk about it more. Putrid Talent with a $5 super chat. Why did we challenge Yelich every damn at bat tonight? I personally feel Tito just didn't have a very good plan. 5 RBIs. Yelich kills the Reds and has killed the Reds his entire career. Ends up tonight with an unreal line, 4 for 5, 3 runs scored, 5 RBIs, obviously double and 2 home runs. Look, we talked about it earlier. I don't know why you continue to challenge the man. Anytime you have him up with a base open moving forward, I think you have to give him the base regardless. Yep. But at this point, I just don't understand why we continue to pitch to him, especially in Great American Ball.
Well, we saw it a month ago, Craig, and I had it in my notes. The Rockies were doing it to the Reds with Elly a month ago. I just don't see why. I don't see why the Reds don't deploy that strategy tomorrow.
Yeah. Hayes, Elly almost ran into each other. It was bad. Ugh. Agree, William Wright. Could have been bad. Glad nobody was hurt. Obviously would have liked them to come up with that catch, but nonetheless, was just one of many defensive quote unquote miscues tonight. Putrid Talent with the $10 super chat. Trace, you the MVP. This is a pitching and management problem tonight. Damn, you had a 7-run cushion. You throw in Suter to stop a rally. Holy blank. Bring in Suter once the rally is ended. To be fair, Suter shut down the rally. If we're being honest, Suter came in, he struck out Stuart Baroa, and the rally was over. The problem was he came back out for the 4th, and guess what happened? He struck out Lockridge to start the inning, gave up a little infield single to Sal Frelick, and then a single to Joey Ortiz, and then he got William Contreras to ground into what should have been an inning-ending double play with no runs on the board, and he should have been out of it with no runs scored. Instead, that boot by Gavin Lux allows the inning to continue. Christian Yelich comes up with the 2-run hit, continues, gets Andrew Vaughn out and Caleb Durbin out. And then even in the 5th, I mean, he continued in the 5th. He did give up the walk to Baroa, who obviously I wouldn't have liked to see that. But then Brandon Lockridge reaches on a bunt single that, quite frankly, Tyler Stevenson has to be quicker out of the crouch to field that, because it's not like the bunt went very far. It was 3 feet in front of the plate. Yep. He's got to be able to get that.
And he lobbed it too. He lobbed that ball.
Yeah. So another defensive miscue on that one. I didn't think Suter was the issue tonight. I get your point. But when you take a guy out in 2 1/3, you're going to have to go to Suter at some point.
Yep.
The fact that they went to him then, maybe it was a matchup thing with Baroa that they felt they good about with that. He did strike him out looking. But nonetheless, I don't think Suter was necessarily an issue tonight.
You bring something up too. There is if they get out of the 4th inning, you get him to the 5th. He gets to the 5th, and then in 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. I'm not the biggest Ashcraft fan, but it's Barlow, Ashcraft, Santillan, Pagan. Hypothetically, the Reds are able to win this game 8-6. So
much different than going Suter, Barlow, Mole, May, La Sorsa. Much different. And even when they were 8-8, the Francona never brought in a shutdown guy to stop the bleeding, which is an interesting game plan tonight. So we'll see. Maybe it was until we get a lead. Who knows? I'm sure no one asked the questions because our beat writers aren't fantastic. I think we got a few more super chats here. Yeah, we got more to get to.
Future talent.
Yep. Yes, Craig, show the emotion. We're all with you. How can you not be emotional on a night like tonight? It was so frustrating, so demoralizing. Appreciate you all tuning in. But yeah,
I think that one came in, Craig, when you were putting Trace in a spot about the exit velocities coming after the double play.
Well, look, I mean, the point of the matter is that we got lucky by scoring 8 runs. The Brewers got a little luck, but the power that they were able to show with the home runs by Yelich, the home run by Andrew Vaughn, all of those are significantly less impactful if you don't have guys on base, right? So both Yelich home runs were solo shots. Yep. The Andrew Vaughn home run was only a 3-run home run because of the failed double play by Elly earlier in the inning. So in reality, this should have been an 8-2 win for the Reds. It just should have been, and it didn't end up being. This organization needs to explain to my 9-year-old why there are more chants for the opposing team in their own ballpark. How do I even start to explain that to him? Well, you can start with a 30-year history of the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah.
Putrid Talent, likes for Craig and Alex. Thank you guys. I appreciate you, Putrid Talent. Yes, if you haven't already, make sure you click the like button. We appreciate your support. Helps us get the word out even more about Chatterbox Sports. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. We are live after every single Cincinnati Reds game. Both myself, Alex Wallace tunes in, Nick Kirby, Trace Fowler, Corey comes in as well. So definitely appreciate everybody tuning in. And Friday night, I know you could be in a lot of different places, so we appreciate you choosing to spend it with us after this frustrating loss. And yeah. All right, Alex, what else do we want to talk about from tonight? Anything that's on top of your mind for tonight specifically?
You know, to me, a good one shining moment, I think, that's going to get brushed under the rug. Luis May pitched pretty well after the last outing he had when he, walked the whole lineup in Pittsburgh. That's a guy I won't be able to give up on him for at least a year or two. And I know it's like, oh, wow, a middle reliever. But I look at the Brewers and that Uribe kid and a few other arms that they've developed, the easiest one being Devin Williams, who obviously is with the Yankees now. But Luis May, I'm infatuated with if he can just rein it in a little bit and, stop walking as many guys. I don't like any reliever walking any batter. But I hate to compare, but I remember Brantley in spring said he was a right-handed Chapman, and I just can't get that out of my head. And I'm just glad he was able to right the ship tonight after Sunday's outing.
Well, look, I know that we've gotten in this little realm of talking about what could be, right? But at the end of the day, if you really want to talk about potential and you want to talk about the fact that the Brewers bullpen is built to strike guys out, let's look at what this Reds bullpen can be in the near future, right? So obviously Luis May has absolute strikeout stuff. Graham Ashcraft has strikeout stuff, even though he struggles at times. Emilio Pagan obviously has strikeout stuff at times. Zach Maxwell, who's at AAA right now, has strikeout stuff. They have the pieces that potentially could be in place here sooner than later to be able to put together that kind of bullpen. Unfortunately, however you want to take it, I don't want to badmouth anyone, but instead you're left with guys like Sam Ball, who doesn't really strike out a ton of guys, Scott Barlow, who doesn't strike out a lot of guys, Brent Suter, who doesn't strike out a lot of guys. So, those are your bulk relievers, the guys that are getting a majority of the innings, not striking out a lot of guys. So, it is interesting. And then, one of our regulars put it in the chat. This team's inability to hit 94-mile-per-hour fastballs down the pipe is insane. Striking out, looking at those balls down the middle with the game on the line is crazy. It's true, but I've said it multiple times, and sometimes they make me look dumb, but more times than not, they don't. This team, for whatever reason, does not hit guys well who have a plethora of pitches where they have to kind of second guess things, right? I think the problem is that they don't trust themselves or their approach is not good, whether that's scouting or just coaching or whatever it may be. They go up there and they're guessing and they're looking for things that they're not getting. And so they're stuck left looking at a 94-mile-an-hour fastball down the middle because they're expecting a slider that is going to fall out of the zone, or they're expecting a breaking ball who's going to bounce in the dirt. But instead, they're left looking at a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. Elly was doing that a ton earlier this year, stuck looking at balls that were right down the middle or catching the inner part of the plate because he was expecting them to come off the plate and be balls. I don't know if it's approach. I don't know if it's a lack of trust and inability for them to really see the ball coming out of the pitcher's hand or what it is. But the truth of the matter is that this team, absolutely, their approach is not very good most of the time, and they're stuck trying to guess on pitches, and as a result, they make themselves look stupid, and they strike out on pitches that are right down the middle.
Yeah. That's Craig. I'm trying to think if I have anything else. I know we wanted to talk Chase Burns, but I'm sure you saw it, and Trace mentioned it. The Mets and the Cubs lost again today. So I saw some people on here when Trace was talking on X and in the chat is saying it makes the loss worse. I guess the Reds would be a game or a half game up on the Mets right now if they would have pulled this one off. So obviously, if you're in the playoffs at this point, that's what we're here for. That's what we watch 162 games for. But I guess I'd rather be a half game out than 1.5 games out.
Yeah, but how much of that is because the Mets are playing terrible baseball and how much of it is because the Reds have deserved to be in that position? I don't know. Look, It's hard for me to sit here and look at the Reds, who are still 5 games over 500, and say that they don't deserve to be in the playoff race. But at the same time, the only reason that they're a half a game out is because the Mets have lost 13 of their last 14 games or something insane like that.
Oh no, certainly. I totally get that sentiment. But all I care is to get in.
Look, at the end of the day,
third wild card. I'm a one wild card guy purist. Now I love it that we are able to scoreboard watch in late August, because really we wouldn't be if it was the Cubs or the Dodgers 5 games out. And it makes it more fun. But man, 6 teams in the playoffs, that's just a little or 6 in the National League, 6 in the American League. It's a little too deep of a playoff for me. But it makes August and September fun for sure.
I know that people love to give me and Nick and others a lot of crap for being optimistic. But at least in my opinion, if this baseball team gets into the playoffs, they have a chance of advancing in the playoffs because of their starting pitching. And I know Nick Martinez didn't help tonight. I get that. But Nick Martinez is not going to be starting a game in the playoffs, so you don't have to worry about it. The way that this Reds roster is built up and the way that this starting rotation is built up, to be able to go into a playoffs with a rotation that could potentially feature Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, and Chase Burns absolutely sets you up to potentially win a series or multiple series in the postseason. And ultimately, that's all that has to be the goal here. The goal is to get in. It doesn't matter if you're the 1 seed or the 7 seed at this point. Get into the playoffs and maybe you can make some noise. But before we get into all of that, I just want to real quick, I do want to talk about Chase Burns. Obviously, news comes out today. He goes on the injured list. It's a grade 1 flexor strain is what they're saying, Alex. But what was interesting to me, first of all, everybody immediate reaction is, oh, okay, phantom IL stint to kind of give him some time. They want to limit his innings anyway. Charlie Clifford, shout out to Charlie, reported that Burns was actually slated to come out of the bullpen on Wednesday, which I know a lot of people are actually saying would be a good scenario for him to actually be closer or late inning, high leverage reliever. But he came in and reported significant shoulder stiffness. Team doctors performed an MRI. Believe he avoided anything serious, but did go on the IL. Terry Francona said that he could begin throwing again as soon as next week, and that it's expected to be a minimum IL stint. I did see somebody on X. I apologize. I don't remember who it was, but somebody pointing out how convenient it was that this 15-day IL stint would end on September 1 when rosters expand.
So I saw the news break. As any good Reds fan it has, we all have the X alerts from the at Reds coming to our phones. So I saw it break, and at first I thought it was a Sal Stewart call up. We're not going to get into that tonight. My immediate reaction was,
I don't know. After that game from Gavin Lux, you sure you don't want to get into it?
Yeah, maybe we will. Even though we're getting to 11 o'clock. Either way, my first thought was, are you kidding me? We're this big series and this happens, of course, So then, like you mentioned, I'm thinking, oh, it's an arm, which could be even worse, like a UCL strain, because that's really what they say, a forearm or a flexor, something along those lines. I'm not a doctor, so sue me. Then, you see the shoulder, and then Tito says, no, he's fine. I saw your tweet right away of, oh, it's a phantom stint. I tell you, I like to be optimistic about such things, but I'm going to be Team Trace here when it comes to these doctors. They just seem like this stuff happens all the time, and then, we lose them for a year. So I'm not holding out any hope.
What the hell, Alex?
I know. I'm not holding out any hope until I see him pitch again this year. I'm that nervous about it. Just because I'm in misery about it, to be honest, Craig.
All right, look, if Chase Burns is not back on this roster and on this active roster on September 1, I'll join you in freaking out. But until then, respectfully, this is a phantom IL stint still. I get it, the report of shoulder stiffness. I'm not buying a second of it.
Here's my question, though. Is it a shoulder or is it but what's a flexor? Is there a flexor in the shoulder, or is that in the UCL forearm area? And if they wanted to do a phantom IL,
flexor by definition is just a muscle whose contraction bends a limb or other part of the body. So,
okay, so it could be anything.
I guess it could
shoulder.
theoretically be anything. Grade 1 flexor strain. They didn't tell us what flexor. So
yes,
based on Charlie's report, it was shoulder.
Okay.
Charlie Clifford said that Terry Francona said it's best case only be a couple of weeks, that he was slotted to come out of the bullpen on Wednesday, was Nick's pregame when he reported significant shoulder stiffness. So I would imagine that the flexor would be that muscle that moves your arm up and down or around or whatever. Not a doctor, but nonetheless, shoulder stiffness is the diagnosis according to Charlie Clifford. So I don't think it's anything that you have to worry about with like the elbow or anything at this point. Again, I don't think it's anything, if I'm being honest. I think it's a phantom injury, but who knows?
You're certainly
the
right.
word significant is what throws me off a little bit. It's one thing for them to come in and say, okay, fatigue or shoulder stiffness. But when you throw in the word significant, I guess it makes it a little different because everybody's stiff at this point in the season. If we're being honest, everybody's injured at some level. But again, for it to come less than a week after we're talking about how we need to get creative with inning limitations, I don't know if I'm buying that.
And I know you were in this era of, it reminds me of Strasburg. When he debuted with the Nationals years ago, they stopped him and didn't do any of this game stuff. And I think some of it's now kind of gotten a little looser with some of the quote unquote rules, but I can't imagine having a guy like a Burns or Mizorowski or Strasburg, and then you walk into the playoffs, cross our fingers, and you're like, yeah, we're not going to use him. He hit his innings limit. So I hope that it's what you think it is, and we see him on September 1st, whether back in the rotation or in some sort of high leverage bullpen position.
Yeah. Just to give credit where it's due, it was Reds in 4 that pointed out that
that's who I thought it was. I was going to bring that up.
Injury ends on September 1st. So shout out as always to good friend Mitch over at Reds in 4.
So speaking of September 1st, Craig, here's a question for you. We brought it up on the show earlier in the week. I think it was me and Max on the pregame show. If you assume that the 27th man is a pitcher, which at this point could be Burns and or La Sorsa or another bullpen arm, obviously, who do you think the Reds call up for their extra hitter? Because they can only have 14 pitchers. So one would be a pitcher, and then the other extra man in the September would be a hitter. What do you think they go there?
Well, I mean, everybody would like that answer to be Sal Stewart, right?
I think that's where everyone would like to be. I just don't think it will be.
If it's going to be Sal Stewart, they've got to get him on the 40 man. That's the biggest challenge, right? So right now they're sitting at 40 on the 40 man. So something would have to change in order for it to be Sal Stewart. Oh God.
I think it's Will Benson.
There's not a good, I don't think Tito
Hines.
likes Will Benson. I don't think I think watch him bring up Ryan Velade
or Ryan. Yeah. And I think it's an outfielder. I don't think we see Stewart until next year. It could be May, honestly.
The only thing with Will Benson is I feel like they've built a little bit of a left-handed heavy lineup already with their major league roster. So I don't know that they're going to go out and add another left-handed bat to that, especially for a team that covets or needs significantly a right-handed bat to continue to add. But
well, with Marte, Hayes, and Andujar, they've gotten a little righty. I think it's a little more split than it used to be, unless you're playing Lux every day at second, which we all don't want to see that.
Well, you've got Friedel, you've got Elly as a switch hitter, you got Gavin Lux as a lefty, you've got Jake Fraley, who we haven't seen in a while. Yeah, I mean, maybe, but I don't know. It seems like Jake Fraley and Gavin Lux and TJ Friedel is your left-handed outfield. I just don't know that Will Benson is your answer. The biggest struggle for me is that we've had games where Gavin Lux is going up against a left-handed pitcher playing in left field because we don't have another option. I'd much rather look at a guy like Rhys Hines and bring him up and give him a chance to see what happens, or Ryan Velade and see what happens there with a right-handed outfield bat, and really build out your platoon in the outfield the way it should be built out versus what you have now, where you've already got your left-handed outfield. So I don't think it'll be Will Benson. I don't want to say I'm confident.
I'm leaning more towards like a Hines. I would bet more on Hines than I would Stewart. But
so the question here, ultimately, the question becomes: are the Reds willing to DFA someone like Connor Joe in order to get Sal Stewart onto the 40-man and then bring him up to the major leagues and get him experience in September? Because Connor Joe has no role on this team,
correct,
this year, right? Like, he just has no real role here, and can't be part of your long-term plans. Now, I know that you went out and you traded for him, but you traded basically nothing.
Yep.
I don't know that he's really a long-term solution at any point. So maybe you're willing to cut ties with him at this point and DFA him. Maybe you bring him back on a minor league deal if he doesn't get picked up somewhere else. But I feel confident, unfortunately, to Nick's dismay, I'm sure, that it won't be Will Benson unless something changes otherwise with the roster. I don't know. Maybe it will be Sal, but my gut right now is leaning towards someone like Ryan Velade, someone that's going to disappoint the Reds fan base for sure.
Yeah, I think, and I said this other night.
Not that Ryan Velade will disappoint him in their performance; they'll just be disappointed in the decision.
It's not Sal. It's not Sal. I think the only way it's Sal is if they think that he could help in the playoff push, because he would be on the playoff roster, and that's the only way they're bringing him up. And shout out to another friend of the show, Bryce Spalding. He has posted about September 1st being the day that they can call up Sal and still get a draft pick if he's on the opening day roster next year. If he were to win an award or whatever. And you got to think the Reds are playing that game too.
I think something has to change at the second base position for them to be willing to do that, because they're not going to be playing him at third base. Key Brian Hayes, I think, is locked in there. They love his defense. I think they either have to make the decision to send Matt McLain to AAA or make the decision that Gavin Lux is never going to play second base again. But right now, I don't know. I just don't know enough about what their feelings are. I think the next 2 weeks will tell us a lot about whether or not we're going to see Sal Stewart on September 1st. If you ask me this question on August 31st, I think I'll be able to give you a much better answer. But as of right now, where we sit today, if nothing else changes, I'm looking at a right-handed outfield bat.
Yep, I would agree.
Okay. All right. I think we've talked enough tonight. Let's go ahead and knock out some Reds MILB, and then we'll talk about tomorrow's game. Interesting game in the minor leagues, or not interesting game, I should say interesting day in the minor leagues. AAA Louisville, they win 3-0 in a rain-shortened game. That one final after 5. Ryan Velade, who we just talked about, went 2 for 3 in that one. Sal Stewart 0 for 2 with a walk. Will Benson 0 for 2 with a walk. Rhys Hines was our deep drive of the day, 1 for 3 with a home run. CES 0 for 3 on the day. In Chattanooga, they fall 2-0 to the Montgomery Biscuits. Cam Collier 1 for 4 in that one. Ethan O'Donnell 1 for 3 with a double. Wade Miley making a rehab appearance in that one. It was reported beforehand that he would either go 40 pitches or 2 innings, whichever one happened first. Ended up at 40 pitches. So 1 2/3 of 1 hit, 1 run baseball, 2 walks, and 2 strikeouts for Miley in that one. Dayton falls 11-5 to Lansing. The Lugnuts get the W at high A. Carlos Torre 1 for 5. Yerlin Confidant 0 for 4. Carlos Sanchez 2 for 5. But the story of the day, Daytona trailing heading into the bottom of the 9th. They pick up the walk-off win as Ichiro Kano brings in the winning run. He's 4 for 5 on the day. A guy we haven't talked a whole lot about so far at A-ball is Bernard Moon. He was 2 for 5 today with 2 runs and 2 RBIs. He's actually been a little bit of a surprise, looked better Lantigua 2 for 2 on the day. Alfredo Duno 1 for 4 with a walk and 2 runs. And then Orvis Portes, who we've talked about in the past, 3 innings pitched, 3 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts. The DSL Rojos, they lose 2-1. Ariel Aponte 0 for 2 with 2 walks. And it looks like I deleted my notes on Moises Castillo, but he went 5 innings of no-hit baseball, struck out 8. He was an international signing for the Reds just 2 years ago, has really performed pretty well there in the Dominican Summer League. In his 24 professional appearances, has an ERA around 3.3. So maybe a name to look out for, maybe not, but 5 innings of no-hit ball with 8 strikeouts at any league is something that you're going to keep an eye out for. And then the DSL Reds, they win 7-2 over the DSL Royals Ventura. I don't think any more notes there, so let's get into...
Yeah, I was going to say one thing, Craig. I'm just going to say it right now at 11:09 on Friday, August 15th. Nick Kirby is Sheng-En Lin's #1 fan. I think I've decided I'm all in on Ichiro Kano.
Okay.
I'm all in. I think I'm going to get on. I know you're a big card guy. I'm going to start collecting his Bowmans. I've seen a couple floating around online. People are a little surprised by the name. I'm all in on the name. I'm all in on the player. And I think I might hold myself to it. That's going to be like the next jersey I get when he makes the big league club here in 4 or 5 years. So I'm all in.
Yeah. Watching video now of the walk-off single from Cano. So interesting. They were down 2 in the 9th inning. Got a 2-run double, and then Ichiro Kano with the walk-off single to win it, scoring Kien Vu, who also is somewhat new to the Tortugas that we haven't.
Yeah,
really
25 draft pick. I think out of Arizona State, I believe.
Yep. So lots to watch for down the line, and as always, Nick will get you filled in with that in all of our daily podcasts. But tomorrow, the Reds and Brewers are back at it. Game 2 of the 3-game series. First pitch scheduled for 6:40 p.m. Reds will turn to Zach Littell. He's 9-8 with a 3.60 ERA. After a strong debut for the Reds on August 8th, where he went 7 innings of 3-hit, 1-run ball, Littell struggled his last time out, went 4 2/3 innings, gave up 4 earned runs on 9 hits against the Pirates. Littell has faced the Brewers 10 times in his career, but only started once, and that was earlier this year. In that outing, he went 6 innings, giving up 2 runs on 6 hits. Active Brewers against Littell are 4 for 23. William Contreras is 1 for 5 with an RBI and a walk. Christian Yelich 2 for 6. Caleb Durbin 1 for 3. Sal Frelick 0 for. Bryce Terang, Danny Jansen, and Joey Ortiz all 0 for as well. Meanwhile, the Brewers are going to turn to Quinn Priester. Appeared in 22 games this year, 17 starts. He's 11-2 with a 3.49 ERA. Last time out, went 4 1/3 innings against the Mets, gave up 10 hits and 6 runs, walked 1 and struck out 2, gave up 2 home runs in that. But prior to that, his 5 starts prior, he had a sub-2 ERA. I don't know about you, Alex, but to me, it feels like Quinn Priester is a guy that's faced the Reds like 10 times. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and also not only 10 times, but like a Reds killer.
Yeah, well, we're wrong. We're wrong. He's only faced him twice. On June 4th this year, he came in after a DL haul, went 3 innings as an opener. Priester then hurled 5 innings of 2-hit, 1-run baseball, struck out 4 and walked 3 during the outing. Current Reds hitters are just 2 for 28 against him. TJ Friedel 1 for 3 with a home run, 2 RBIs, 2 walks, and a strikeout. Jose Trevino 1 for 2 with a double. Stevenson, Steer, Elly, Fraley, Ke'Bryan Hayes, Espinal, and McLean all 0 for. Priester relies on 5 pitches: the sinker, slider, cutter, curve, and changeup. His sinker averages 93.8, but he gets whiffs on 34% of his sliders. So,
and did he pitch for the Pirates?
He did. Yep.
And I remember he he mowed the Reds down his time that he pitched with the Pirates against the Reds.
Doesn't it feel like he's been a Reds killer? Like I legitimately was shocked when I saw that he had only started 2 games against the Reds, or appeared in 2 games versus the Reds. That can't be right, can it?
Well, I trust Baseball Reference or whatever you're looking at. I trust you, Craig.
Well, I'm looking at StatHead, which is a Baseball Reference product. So in 2023 he faced the Reds as a starter for the Pittsburgh Pirates, went 6 innings, 2 hits, 2 runs, walked 5 in that outing. And then earlier this year against Milwaukee. But I swear it feels like this is a dude we've faced 18 times.
You know what, Craig? We can't look it up now. It's too late in the show. But there was a guy on the Pirates, I think it was a Friday night Apple TV game, who walked like 5 or 6 guys in the first inning. The Reds scored only like 1 run. And I think he might that's who we might be thinking of, because he mowed the Reds down the rest of the game after walking like the bases loaded and giving up 1 or 2 runs. But regardless, there's so many of these no-name guys that it seems that the Reds can't hit. And then of course they score 10 runs, or not 10 runs, or 8 runs, or a little less off, an all-star Mizorowski, who honestly, I know he's come off an injury, but he didn't impress me much. He seemed to be a little wild. So maybe a little early career luck he had up with Milwaukee, but I'm still not looking forward to watching him pitch against the Reds over the next few years.
Yeah, Baseball Reference, 2 outings, 3 runs total, 4 hits total, has walked 8 in the 2 outings. Reds batter, or at least I should say in those 2 outings, opponents hitting 114 against him with an OPS of 524. So certainly hasn't been a successful opportunity for the Reds in the past, but they're going to need it big time tomorrow if they want to bounce back from this disappointment. What are you going to be looking for most tomorrow out of this Reds team after tonight?
I'm just hoping they can rebound and really rebound from the defense. Score early like they did again tomorrow. Give Littell some, breathing room. We're looking at another Martinez type guy, another Bronson Arroyo type guy, where when he's on, and when he's off, you better start scoring some runs. And Arroyo and Martinez have both had great careers. Littell's a very solid pitcher. I was excited when the Reds acquired him. But really, it's just they need the win tomorrow. Not only to stay with the Mets, but to avoid the sweep, because the last thing the Reds can afford right now is a sweep. Obviously, I think if we stay within striking distance of the Mets over the next few weeks, that's fantastic. And then that big series, 3 against them, I believe at home, before the season's over. But really, I'm just scoreboard watching, Craig.
Let's talk about that real quick. I mean, obviously the Reds are scoreboard watching for sure. They get help tonight. We talked about the Mets already, but the Yankees and Cardinals just went final. Yankees win that 4-3. They were up 4-0 at one point. So 3 unanswered from the Cardinals, but Yankees end it with the victory. Padres are currently trailing the Dodgers 2-1. That one is in LA. The Giants are leading the Rays, but that one is early in the third. Cubs, they drop a game to the Pittsburgh Pirates 3-2 earlier today. The Braves win. Marlins lose. It seems like they have cooled off a little bit after their insane run. And then most importantly, as we talked about already, the Mariners pick up an 11-9 win over the New York Mets. That is in New York. So definitely a big victory there for the Seattle Mariners, as Reds fans are scoreboard watching. And if that wasn't enough for you, the Colorado Rockies, who have 32 wins on the season, just beat the Arizona Diamondbacks to get their 33rd win of the season. So they win 4-3. So look, everything that the Reds needed to have happen happened today. So they're going to sit a half a game out still. They're still going to be in a position to be able to get into this playoffs. They still got people on their butts, but they're going to be the first team out. and they're going to be half a game out of the standings, and they're still going to have, if I remember correctly, which I'm pulling up right now, they're going to have a 1-game lead over the Cardinals. Nope.
No, a 3-game lead.
3-game lead over the Cardinals. I apologize. So, yeah, look, the Mets are going to continue to falter. Then let's take advantage of it and let's get after it. So,
and tomorrow's a must. It's a must win just because the Reds need to take care of their own business. But tomorrow the Mets are facing Brian Wu, who is a fantastic young pitcher if you haven't watched him for Seattle. And they're starting a guy who's making his major league debut. So I don't know who McLean is. He could be, their version of Chase Burns. There's not many of them, so I'm not too concerned. But this is where tomorrow becomes a must-win to get the Reds in the win column and then take advantage of a Mets loss where they weren't able to tonight.
Yep. All right. Putrid Talent with another super chat. 420 people in here now. I think we're down to about 375, but hit the dang like button, people. Figure it out. Support the show. These nights are tough for our favorite post-game show. They are tough, Alex. They are tough indeed. But
I was
Daniel Myers
in
knows.
the second inning.
Daniel Myers knows we start the 5-game winning streak tomorrow. Trace has been talking about it for weeks now. If this Reds team wants to get into the postseason, a 5-game winning streak feels like a must. They must get that momentum. They must pick up the games. The New York Mets have fallen now 13 of their last 14. They've lost 3 straight. They are begging the Cincinnati Reds to pick up the playoff spot. They're begging for it. Tomorrow's the day it happens, and I will be right back with you tomorrow night after the game to break it all down as I always do. And hopefully it will be a winning edition of Chatterbox Reds because, quite frankly, I am tired of losing editions of Chatterbox Reds. It feels like I might be the bad luck. And if that's the case, the 9 remaining shows that I have scheduled, Alex, I might have to cancel.
If the Reds lose tomorrow, we might have to consider that. This is a good commercial for me. Real quick, Craig, before we sign off. My family's and my wife and my 2 daughters, we've been to 5 games this year, Craig. We're 5-0. I'm looking free tickets, send them my way. I can't afford it. We buying 4 tickets, and my one daughter demands pizza every time we're there, so it's turning into $100 night. Guys, I need to get to a couple more games. I have 1 more game scheduled against the Cubs. But if anyone has free tickets out there, reach out to me on X. I'll be more than willing to take them off your hands. I need 4 because we can't risk one of us being the good luck charm and leaving them at home. So that's my commercial. I'm looking for games at the middle of September, the last homestand. So send them over.
All right, you heard it here first. If you want the Reds to win again, get Alex Wallace some tickets. Look, as frustrating of a loss as tonight was, I got to admit, Alex, tonight was still a fun show. Appreciate Trace joining us. Appreciate you joining us as always. If you haven't already, click the like button, please, please, please. Also subscribe and follow us here on YouTube and on all of the social media channels. We are live after every single Reds game, all 162, hopefully more this year, but at least all 162. Plus, check out Chatterbox Bengals back now. Stone Shields doing a great job putting out daily content. And as always, following all of our Cincinnati sports closely here with Chatterbox Sports. We appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow night.